All right, let's talk about Andy Reid. Andy Reid. All of a sudden, people are calling him a great big game coach. What a turnaround he's had in the past 5-6 years or so. The guy who was always criticized for lacking being able to get it done in the big game is now the guy that is making the big plays and making the right calls and getting the right schemes. All of that good stuff. Let's start off with a play you see on the screen. So this isn't a good play. This is, there was a struggle early on here for the Chiefs, right? We have to talk about that before we talk about the good stuff that he did in the second half of what was going wrong. And to me, I think one of the real things that Reid did that was really smart was how he unlocked Travis Kelce. Because like this route for Kelce on a 3rd and 12, more of an over-the-middle route. We'll kind of eventually cut towards the sideline, but definitely working over the middle. This is a lot of what Kelce is amazing at. Kelce's made a career off of this, debatably the best player ever at getting in these gaps in coverage over the middle, right? We'll watch how when Mahomes takes the snap, he's going to look towards Kelce. Mahomes has to run up, fires off balance. Eventually, Kelce does get open, but it's worth mentioning just before this, Kelce was not open. Mahomes is kind of, making this throw the second Kelce's getting out of his break, having to make this throw off balance because Kelce wasn't open right away. He had to get a little bit more time, all of that stuff. Now, Mahomes misses the throw, and, that's still on Mahomes at the end of the day. It was still a bad throw. But at the same time, what's kind of, I think, worth mentioning is the fact that Kelce wasn't getting open over the middle, which, again, I'm assuming when they game planned, it was almost just accepted. Well, Kelce will be able to get open over the middle on these plays. It wasn't happening. So Reid, he did what a smart coach does, and, in the second half, he pivoted. This play is a great example of what was happening, which is he worked towards the outside. He had Kelce work towards the outside. It's zone coverage, and you see Kelce's route going to be kind of underneath the coverage. And also worth mentioning, lining up Kelce on the opposite side of where Fred Warner is. Where is Fred Warner? Let's get Kelce on the opposite side, and let's have him run towards the sideline. And that's a big thing that the Chiefs were doing. Watch as when Mahomes takes a snap, he flips the ball to Kelce, who, again, right here, there is a window. There's absolutely some room for him to run up the middle, which he just wasn't having earlier. And as you see, Kelce, so good in open space, able to make stuff happen. So, again, this was just something where, this was Kelce, they needed Kelce to have a big game in this one if they were going to win it. They just needed to. And he ended up with 93 yards, but he was really invisible in the first half. It wasn't until Reid kind of started doing things a little bit differently and having other, ways to get him to football that I think that kind of unlocked the Chiefs and made the offense go from a disaster, which it was for a while, to a solid offense sort of in the third and early fourth quarter, and then a great offense sort of at the end of this game. So that was a good job by Andy Reid for sure, what he was able to do there. This play was a fun one and a really smart one too, so it's going to be a design quarterback keeper, and this was all by design for Mahomes to keep the football. There was no Reid here. You can do this with a Reid if you want to, but that's not what was happening. Mahomes was keeping it himself. You see Nick Bosa on this play. He's the guy who I've circled in black. And what's interesting is, so the Chiefs don't love designed runs with Mahomes. They used to do this kind of when he was younger, but now I think they kind of realize, we're paying him $500 million. We got to protect him. Yes, his scrambling is a part of his game. That's something he'll do, but we're not going to throw on added plays where he could get hit. Well, that goes out the window when it's the Super Bowl, right? Because you got an offseason coming up anyway. If he has to take an extra hit or two to try and win a Super Bowl, you're okay with it. But for Bosa, what's interesting here is Bosa is so aggressive. Bosa always plays so aggressive. I think that's why they're doing this. And they did it a couple times. One was the 4th down, but this play was, the first time they did it. Watch as when Mahomes, takes the snap, you're going to see Bosa, he's still going for the running back. He still hasn't realized what's happening because it's not a play you see the Chiefs do. So, again, if this was Baltimore, I'm sure Bosa would have been more aware of a potential, quarterback run. But, that's because Baltimore does it a lot. The Chiefs kind of know, hey, this is something we don't do a lot, but it's not because we're not good at it. So let's, in the Super Bowl, do it. That's just smart. As you see, Mahomes, does what Mahomes does, able to pick up a ton of yards in open space right there. So good stuff by him. But, good stuff by Andy Reid. Really just, and, I keep saying Andy Reid. It is worth mentioning, Matt Nagy is also there. So, those two guys in general, the two, offensive coordinator and the offensive-minded head coach, both guys doing a lot of really smart stuff here. it's impossible to know who was actually the guy who came up with this decision, but at the end of the day, it works, so they're all going to get credit. And then if it failed, I'm sure they would all, hopefully try to not receive the blame, right? Now, I want to go over here. Listen, it was not perfect, right? Okay, I'm going to pause it right here. It's a 3rd down and goal situation. Something that really was an issue all season for the Chiefs and never really got fixed was the red zone offense. They were below average red zone offense, which seems weird when you're a team with Patrick Mahomes. Now, it kind of makes some sense because maybe they don't have like the great outside receiver. Obviously Kelsey's awesome, but he is a tight end. So when they can't work over the middle, maybe there's some issues there. Some of it is personnel, right? Obviously. However, on this one, when Mahomes takes the snap, he, first looks towards the top of the screen, then looks over the middle. But the reality is, it doesn't matter where he's looking, nothing's getting open. And, the scheme on these plays, because there's a few of them, I didn't think was bad, really. So, I don't know if it's fully fair to blame the coaching, but it is, I think, at least somewhat fair to say, hey, if you credit them when it works, you kind of got to criticize them when it doesn't work. And there definitely were some times when it didn't work, and some big ones too. Like this situation, this could have been the game. Because Mahomes is going to try to make something happen here. He, eventually is not able to make something happen, goes down instead, and they, kick the field goal to tie the game. Well, the 49ers had a chance to run out the clock altogether and kick a field goal as time expired. There was a chance that happened. So, again, you got more opportunities, and boy, did they make the most of it, because that final drive was amazing. Going over here, I actually made a whole video talking about I broke down every single play of that 13-play final drive, so check that out. It's on the channel if you're interested, but, here we'll just talk about the final play, which I think was Andy Reid's masterpiece. This play is the best play he has ever called in the history, and again, I'm saying Andy Reid, maybe it's Matt Nagy, but the best play that those two guys have called in the history of the game. It's a walk-off touchdown, which has only happened one time before in the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Patriots, were able to do that. But here, what's going to happen is you have one tight end going over the middle. Kelsey is also going to kind of take a step into the end zone, turn around, be like, hey, he's a decoy. That's what he's doing. That is McCole Hardman, who's certainly not going to get a ton of attention, but he's going to kind of look as though he's going in motion towards the offense's left. However, when Mahomes takes a snap, Hardman then cuts back towards the offense's right, and just nobody picks him up. Again, the players who were kind of in the area looking at Kelsey, which makes some sense, or looking at Mahomes, who's in motion, which also makes some sense. Nobody is picking up Hardman, and it's kind of hard to blame him. Mahomes, of course, makes the throw. They're able to get into the end zone for a touchdown, and just like that, the Andy Reid-led Chiefs are now 3-time Super Bowl champions. It's crazy. It was just 5 years ago that we were celebrating the Chiefs' first Super Bowl victory, and oh my God, they finally did it. And really, it was just 4 years ago, actually, when it happened. It's been a 5-season stretch, but 4 years ago. Now all of a sudden, we're talking about them as a 3-time Super Bowl champion, and it's fair. A lot of really good stuff here. So really fun stuff by Andy Reid. Always a lot of entertaining play calls, and definitely had some fun wrinkles in this one. And the Kansas City Chiefs somehow, some way, find a way to win the Super Bowl this year when no one thought they would. Pretty crazy stuff. So yeah, that's what I think about all this. I'm gonna finally head to bed. Hope you guys enjoyed all these videos. More coming later today. But definitely going to be, got to get some sleep at some point. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.